Podcasting live direct to you from North Hollywood, California. My name is Gil, and I am the American Cholo. And today we got another banger for you. It's a rainy Saturday, Chris. Rainy Saturday, right? You guys should be home chilling, chilling with the wife, chilling with the kids. And today we got a good one. But before we start this one, I would like to send out prayers to the families of the victims in the Baltimore Bridge. The majority of people who passed away, and the news may not even show it, is people from Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, construction workers. I believe it was 8 of them on the bridge. So prayers to those families, and it just put some light on their issues, and we feel for them. With that being said, let's introduce our next guest. Our next guest is a Palmdale native that spent over 2 decades in the California Department of Corrections, but now instead of being a gangster in the hood, he's a gangster for God. What's going on, homie? How we doing?
Come on. I'm blessed to be here,
Change
man.
map for life. Now, what's your first name? Jim? Jim. What's going on, Jim? ¿Cómo estás?
What's going on? Good. Is that?
Let's get to the mic, Jim. Turn this level up.
For sure.
Good, homie. So, we've been going back and forth for maybe a year now or something, right? And then
finally made it happen.
Finally made it happen. I saw you on the live, like, come on, fool, let's get it in, oh boy. Right. So let's talk about it, man. Where were you born and raised at?
Palmdale, California.
Okay, Palmdale, California. So talk to me about Palmdale. You've been the whole stretch of your life, pretty much.
So for a brief period, outside of my incarceration, I lived in San Diego for like a year and a half. I was in the Navy actually, for a very brief time.
Oh, you're a former Navy guy.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Navy corpsman. But for a very brief time. But other than that,
thank you for your brief service.
I appreciate it. Briefly.
But unfortunately, the Navy thing didn't help you out once you started becoming the gangster thing, right?
Not at all. Actually, I went to the Navy to try to get away from all that. I had become a father at a very young age.
Okay, how young?
17.
Okay.
And I got married at 18, and I didn't have any kind of education. I had dropped out of school, was running the streets. I didn't have any kind of skills to get a job with. So I figured, well, let me try to join the military. Let me try to provide for my wife and kid by joining the military. And I at first went to the Marines, right? Marine recruiter. Because I didn't have a high school diploma, they wouldn't take me.
Oh, wow.
So I went to the Army, same thing, Air Force, same thing. I went to the Navy, and they're like, okay, look, we have a certain amount of non-high school graduates we could take per year, but you have to score higher on the entrance exam than the high school graduate does. So I was able to do that. I went and took the test, scored higher, went to San Diego for boot camp, went to San Diego for my school, my training, was stationed in San Diego, and was there for like a year and a half, and ended up getting kicked out. I was young and still with the same mentality that I had.
Well, what was the reason you got kicked out?
Getting in fights and...
It was hard taking orders or what?
I was still just very immature. You know what I mean? I still wanted to be living the same kind of life I was living before. But, you can't do that. You know what I mean? During work hours in uniform, I was cool. Didn't have any problems. Always got good reviews, all that. It was my after hours activities that
Your
got
free
me.
time.
My free time messed me up.
You went back to that gangster mentality.
Went back to that gangster mentality, getting in bar fights.
Now let's talk about that, because you're originally from Palmdale, right. Palmas, if I'm correct. Yes. Yep. I actually lived out there for a few years as well, so right. I kind of remember. But when did that actually begin? The Palmdale thing, as far as hoodwise.
Hoodwise, in the mid to late '80s. I started claiming the neighborhood in the late '80s. What would be my older homies, they weren't a whole lot older.
I think it was kind of like
a couple of years older than me. But really, the neighborhood really started coming on like around 86, 87, and then me like 88.
Okay. And at that time, were you from a single household? Was it mom and dad in there?
Yeah, no, I was raised in a single parent household. It was my mom, my younger brother, and myself.
And you just started, as a young age, were you already rebellious, or was it more like in the teenage years?
It more manifested in the teenage years, but the seeds were planted as a young kid. So my actual birth father, my mom was married to my birth dad, and he left. He bailed on us. My mom got remarried, and my stepdad at the time is where I picked up a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand how influential you are on your children, especially young children. The things you say, the things you do, kids are soaking it up. Yes. You know what I mean? So, their marriage was very violent. He was abusive physically, emotionally, mentally, verbally to my mom. And I seen all that. So I learned what I thought then were life lessons. I learned that when you're mad at somebody, you use violence. When you don't like something somebody did, you use violence. And with his family, so I'm half white and half Mexican, right?
Okay.
My birth dad's white, my mom's Mexican. My stepdad was out of Bakersfield, so we used to go spend a lot of time with his family over there, Bakersfield, Lamont area. And his nieces and nephews, which were my step cousins, used to pick on my brother and I a lot because, we're half white. We didn't speak good Spanish. So we'd get picked on a lot. One day, this time I'm like maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, got fed up with it. Reached back, fired on one of them, right? Socked one of them, busted his nose. From that day forward, they didn't bother us no more. So in my young mind, okay, violence brings respect.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was what instilled in me what ended up becoming my personality as I grew.
That was that first lesson you saw that, hey, this works.
Right.
Because me trying to talk it out isn't working. I got to.
All this crying and running to my mom and all that ain't doing
I gotta
nothing.
duke it out.
It gets worse. Once I socked somebody in the nose, things changed. Now they respected us. They didn't clown us no more. Didn't pick on us no more. And now as a grown man, I understand violence does not solve problems. Violence doesn't bring respect. But when you're a kid, that's,
So you're doing the whole, gang thing, and then you went to the Navy at what age was it?
18.
18. So that's about a year and a half. You get kicked out. What's next?
Back to the streets. I go back home, and I'm trying to look for work. My first intention is not to go back to the neighborhood or to begin using drugs again or anything like that. I really want to try to be a dad to my son. So I'm looking for work, but nothing's happening. I'm getting frustrated. So of course, I'm still young. I'm still immature mentally, still growing as a man. So once I got to a point of frustration, I was like, you know what, forget this. I'm going to go back to what I know. Picked up a strap, went back to the neighborhood, and picked up from there.
And the neighborhood at the time you thought was giving you something, right?
I thought that was like they teach us family. That's my family. That's love. We're here for you. We got your back no matter what. This is who really loves you, and all that stuff that we get fed and we fall for and believe.
Now take me back to, without whatever you're comfortable talking about. Take me back to the night or day of what ended up sending you to prison for so many years.
So my ex-wife, my first wife, and I, when we separated, we had an agreement about our son. Right at the time, he's like 3 years old. So we would rotate weekends. One weekend she would have him, one weekend I would have him, and it was my weekend with him, right? So, and this happened to be on what holiday was it? Not a Labor Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend of 1991. It was my weekend with the baby. So I had went and picked him up, and we're back at the spot where we were staying at, and at that place where we lived at, we had a couple. It was me and my girlfriend at the time, homeboy and his girlfriend, and then we had a couple of girls that lived there that had two roommates, right?
Right.
So the roommates wanted to go to, at that time in Palmdale, Lancaster, either house parties is what was popping, or we'd go to, you hang out, and it's going to sound funny to people who don't really understand. You go hang out in the parking lot of a business or something. So the Taco Bell parking lot is what was popping.
And Palmdale.
And this one was in Lancaster.
Okay.
The Taco Bell parking lot would have literally hundreds of cars full of people partying, drinking, getting high, bumping music, whatever. And that was like what people would do for fun because there was nothing to do. So that's where they wanted to go, right? So they're like, give us a ride over there, give us a ride. I'm like, no, I got my son. And I already knew that if I go there, you're going to run into different cats. You're going to run into enemies. You're going to run into whatever. But again, being young and immature in my mind, it's like, if I tell them no and don't take them, they're going to think I'm a weenie. They're going to think less of me. There goes my chance of ever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, I'll take you guys. But first I'm going to take my son to his mom, drop him off real quick. So that's what I did. Put my son in the car. They got in the car. Mistake one, of course, was choosing to go. Mistake two was I took my strap with me. I used to try to, whenever I have my son, I don't take my strap with me, right? This one time I ended up taking my strap with me. So we go. We're en route to the Taco Bell, and I pass the K20 liquor store in Lancaster, and there's my homeboy's right there. My homeboy and some fools are with him. They see me driving by, so he flags me down. I pull in. What's up, fool? Oh, we're going to this party over here. Hannah's here, party. Oh, let's go to the party. Let's go to the party instead. All right, cool, let's go. So we end up going to the party. We get there, and it's at that time really out in the middle of nowhere. Back then, on like 80th and something in Lancaster, there's really nothing going on. It was out in the boonies. So we get there. It's a house party. It's nothing but raza, nothing but gang members. They got a DJ. They got kegs, all that. So we're there and, just partying out, doing what we do, dancing, listening to music, partying, drinking. Not too long after, a carload of white boys pull up. And it's like 3 dudes and a couple of females. They get out the car, and they're selling acid, right? So we bought some acid. So we drop acid. We're drinking. Party's going on. Well, one of the fellas that was with my homie, I didn't know these cats. I knew my homeboy, and he had 3 other cats with him, right, that I didn't know. I met them right there on the spot. So one of them cats decides, hey, I'm going to jack this fool. Because I guess he was flashing money or whatever the dude that was selling acid. So we're like, cool, handle your business, you know. We're thinking, white boys ain't going to do nothing anyway. It's going to be an easy thing. Go handle your business. So homeboy goes, and they go outside, and my homeboy comes running back in, and he grabs me. He's like, hey, fool, they're outside fighting, right? So I'm like, well, so we run out there. We get out there, and homeboy's telling the dude, you know, give it up, give it up. He's on his knees. I don't got nothing. And his other homies his friends are, leave him alone, leave him alone. Bro, I'm faded. I'm out of it. I'm on acid. I'm drunk. These dudes yelling gets on my nerves. And so I get up on one of them, and I'm like, well, if he doesn't got it, you must have it. Break yourself. And I pull my strap out. He starts, I don't got nothing. My homie cracked him. So now it's like a little melee. We're all fighting. Well, one of them dudes ends up grabbing me, and he's big, like 6 foot something. Dude grabs me by my neck, has me pinned against the wall, and he's reaching for his waistband. So this kind of lightweight sobers me up. You know, I'm like, oh, dang, this fool's about to let me have it. So I push him off me, pull my strap back out. Now it's like a standoff, you know what I mean? He's maybe where Chris is at to here, and we're looking at each other. He's got his hand in his waistband. I got my gun out. He starts pulling his hand out of his waistband and starts coming towards me. In my mind, he's got a gun. So I shoot, bah, 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 3 times. Hit him in the stomach. He turns around and starts running, and I hear shots. So I'm thinking, oh, he must be shooting back. But the shots are coming from behind me. So it's my homie. My homie shoots him. Now the place is going wild. It was a house party. There's like 80 to 100 people there. Gunshots, psh, everybody's running, screaming. It's going crazy, right? So one of the homies grabbed me. We jump in the car, and we take off. The next day, somebody brings me the paper. Hey, that dude died. So I'm tripping. I'm like, dang. All right, well, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? At that time, my attitude was like, that's what you get.
That was the mentality.
You know what I mean? That's what you get. You had that coming for stepping to us like that. So a week later, now the Huda's looking for me. And everywhere I'm at and I leave, they pull up right behind. So someone's telling them where I'm at. I left my mom's house. My brother calls me. Hey, the cops were just here looking for you. So I go to the homie's pad. I get to the homie's pad. I'm there for a little bit. I leave. Hey, the cops. So everywhere, they're coming right behind me. Eventually, they ended up raiding a pad where I was at. And like a week later, it was about a week after.
Did they find you with the gun at the time?
No. We had supposedly got rid of it.
Right.
When I was getting my clothes and stuff together to bounce, I was going to go to Kern County. The homie that I was staying with at the time, him and his girl were staying with me, and my girl were staying together. He was like, hey, fool, let me get that strap. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to put
right.
Another mistake. Trusting, okay, fool, take care of it.
He kept it.
This fool hit it in a bush, wrapped in a fluorescent orange towel.
Oh, shit.
So when they came with a warrant and searched the pad, bright orange towel there in the bushes.
Oh,
they get it, and there's the quit thing.
So now you're in the interrogation room. What's going on?
So at first, of course, I don't know what you're talking about, and do nothing, you know what I mean? And the homicide detectives, you know how they run game. They brought me McDonald's. You want a cigarette? You want any of this? You cool? You know what I mean? I'm eating and making up lies. You know what I mean? Lying. I didn't do nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't even there. Little by little, they start showing me all these witness statements. They had, I forget how many, but they had anonymous callers, bro, telling them that it was me, right? And people calling, telling. They broke my girl down. He was there. So another thing, too, was that different than today is back then, I finally copped to it. I was like, hey, you know what? I did it. Because they ended up bringing my homies in. They busted all the other cats that were there. So I'm like, you know what? I did it. Let them go. It was me. They had nothing to do with it. All right, cool. As they're interrogating us one by one, everybody's saying the same thing. I did it. Let them go. I did it. Let them go. Nowadays, it's like, he did it, let me go.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But back then, it was like, I did it, let them go.
But they were all saying the same thing, I did it?
Everybody was trying to ride it. Everybody was trying to cop to it, you know what I mean? Get everybody else cut loose. But so we all ended up getting busted. I ended up taking a deal for 30 to life, 25 to life for the murder, 5 for the gun.
Enhancements.
Yeah. And what was crazy was they were trying to charge us with the death penalty. So it was a murder robbery, right?
Right.
And because it's out there in the Antelope Valley back then, there wasn't a lot going on. So they were trying to make an example.
Absolutely.
And then on top of it, the dude I killed was white. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they were like, okay, we're going to make an example out of you cats. And they were trying to push the death penalty on us. So when they came with the deal, 25 plus the 5 for the gun, I never been in no major trouble before. I'd never been to YA, never been to camp, never been to juvenile hall. I'd been to the county like 3 times on some small stuff. Right. This is my first major case I'm facing, right? So my public defender, he ain't had no help. He tells me the first day I met him, I know you did it. You know you did it. They know you did it.
Shit.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this, you know? So he comes with a deal. They want to give you 25 to life for the murder, 5 for the gun. I'm like, okay, let me come back in a week and I'll tell you. No, they want to know right now. We're at court, right? No, they want to know right now. Well, let me go out here and talk to my family and see what they say. No, they need to know right now. They say if you don't answer them right now, the deal's off the table, they're going to push the death penalty. So the only one there with me is my crimey. I turn around. He'd been to the joint before. So I turn around and I'm like, hey, what you going to do? Because they're offering him the same deal. He's like, forget the death penalty. I'm taking the deal. I said, all right, let's roll.
Just like that.
Signed. You know what I mean?
Because back then, your case was in 91, right?
1991, yeah.
Most people in 1991 were getting 15 to life.
Right.
You could be a double murder and they'll still give you 15 to life. So
right.
It was kind of unheard of for 30 to life. That didn't come into play until, heck, maybe late 90s to early 2000s. As you saw, go 15 to life. Then it went 25 to life. Then it started 30. Then it went to 45 to life, right? So yeah, they were definitely making an example of you. Now, so you and your crime partner both got?
The one that was my age, so he was like my primo hermano. We were, we're not related by blood.
That's your boy.
We were boys, you know what I mean? Right. So he and I were the only ones that were over 18. The other homies were like 17 and 16. But so he and I took deals for 25 to life plus 5 for the gun. The other 2 youngsters took 15 to life deals. And the youngest homie and his family had a little bit of money, so he had a real lawyer. He ended up getting a 7-year manslaughter deal. He went to YA for 3 years, and he went home in 1994. So out of the 5 crimes, 4 of us got life.
Now, is everybody out, or is there still?
There's 1 left. 3 of us are out.
There's 1 left.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he picked up a life without parole sentence while he was inside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Double.
Man, all bad.
So now you've taken your pretty much 30 to life deal, right? 25 life plus 5. You're back to the county. What's your mindset? Are you really, as a young guy, grasping what just happened, or is to you it's just, I got 25 to life?
The day that I took the deal, everything was surreal. It was like slow motion, hearing the judge say everything and me looking around the courtroom and seeing people crying and stuff like that. When I get back to the county and people are like, hey, what happened? And I told them, you know what I mean? And the older homies are like, you did what?
Yeah.
That's not a deal. That's what you would have got anyway.
Yeah.
You're too young. You don't have a bad criminal record. That's what you would have got at trial.
If you went to the box.
Yeah, if you went to the box, they're not going to give you the death penalty. This is what you do. You're going to go back, you're going to withdraw your guilty plea and go to trial. I'm like, well, how do I do that? You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing about the legal system. So I called my people and explained it all to my mom. She's like, okay, we're going to get you a lawyer. And what they have, you know how the jefitos are. Of
course, bro.
Going to sell whatever they can, put the house on the line, all that kind of stuff, So my mom ended up getting me a lawyer. After a couple of months, we go back for my sentencing, and the new lawyer that my mom hired makes a motion to withdraw my guilty plea, right? So the judge tells him, you can't even make that motion because you're not his lawyer. Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion to become his lawyer. I'm going to deny that motion. Too late in the process. This is his sentencing hearing, right? So the lawyer, he's like, okay, cool. He looks at the public defender, and he's like, I'm sure that this gentleman, wanting to help his client, will make a motion. He's giving him the game. Right. Make a motion for a continuance so that we can come back and show good cause of why I should become his lawyer of record and withdraw the guilty plea. Nope, denied everything. The public defender didn't open his mouth. He just sat there. The judge asked me, who do you want to be your lawyer? I'm like, this cat. Well, whose idea was this, you or your family? Both of us. Motion denied. Went on ahead and sentenced me. And that was it. So now I go back to the county after that. Now I'm just waiting to catch the chain. And in my mind, it's like, because my mom tells me, we're going to appeal, we're going to do this. Mom ain't trying to give up. You know how moms are. So I'm like, okay. So in my mind, it really didn't sit in my mind, I'm going to win an appeal Everybody's pumping me up, all the homies. No way, you don't got a murder case. You got a manslaughter case. Don't trip. So I catch the chain and go to the joint with the mentality that, it's going to get overturned eventually, you know?
Right. And that just didn't happen.
That just didn't happen. It ran its course. We went before the appeal courts and all that kind of stuff, and everything got denied. Maybe 5 to 6 years in is when it was like, okay, everything's done. That's it. You got life.
Did it hit you a little different then, or what?
It hit a little different then.
So
because then it's just like,
do you recall that day in the cell or wherever you were at where you're like, dude, I'm doing life like that? Because you still had that glimmer of hope, right? And you're thinking as a young guy, I'm gonna get out in 6-8 years. These fools don't know. Right. So do you remember the day where you got that letter or whatever it was that told you, you got life, Holmes?
It was a phone call. I called my mom. I told me my mom was crying, and she was like, well, they said that's it. There's nothing more that they could do. They could file to the U.S. Supreme Court, but the chances of them taking it was like. And now that I'm older and understand, there was absolutely no way that was going to happen. But I was kind of like being prepped for it over those first few years. Right. The fellas that were there were like, look, you got life. You're never going home. If you get that through your head now, you'll do your time much better. If you keep thinking about the streets and thinking about the possibility of going home, you'll lose your mind. Here's this knife. This is your life now. Level 4, you know what I mean? Level 4 GPR.
And in the early 90s, dude.
And in the early 90s.
That's some major shit.
And it was like, this is your life now. And when I accepted it, it was like, okay, this is my life now.
What was that defining moment for you when you're in the level 4 and then you finally see some action going on as far as some violence, and you're like, wait a minute, this shit's real, dude? Like,
the first violence I saw was in the chow hall. Anybody that knows about a level 4 chow hall, no warning shots, big old signs, no warning shots. These 2 African-American dudes get into it. One was supposed to go home a few days after that. He owed this other cat like a handful of dollars, bro, nothing major, but he was going home. The cat he owed was a lifer. So I'm guessing that the lifer was like, oh, you ain't going to skirt out of here without paying me. So he rushed him in the chow hall. Gunner shot the dude in the head and killed him. The dude that was going home in a few days. And that was my first time. We're eating breakfast. I'm in the chow hall. I got my tray. I'm eating. Get down. You pick up your tray and you go down because you don't know if you're going to eat again or not. You know what I mean? It's going to be locked down. You don't know what's going to happen. But the man was laying there, leaking from the head, dying, and we're just eating chow. And I was like, okay, this is it.
Just another day in the office.
Another day in the office. If I could backtrack a little bit.
Please.
When I caught the chain from the county to reception, I went to Wasco. We were, I don't know if we were the first bus, but we were one of the first buses from LA County Jail to hit Wasco. It was a brand new reception center. And I remember when we got on the bus at the county and the bus driver got on the freeway and everybody thinks we're going to Chino. We start going to Wasco, opposite direction. So everybody that's been to Chino before is like, hey, where are we going? This ain't the way to Chino.
Shit, this was another route already.
What the heck? Oh, you guys are going to Wasco. Wasco, what's that? New reception center that opened, don't trip. So boom, we're on the bus. Couple-hour drive. And I remember at this time, I'm 21 years old, never been in no real trouble before, never been to the joint before, pulling up to the prison and seeing the towers, the gun towers and the barbed wire, and just looking and like, oh, dang.
You're like in a prison movie right now.
Yeah, exactly. But at that time, I still had that little bit of hope about the appeal and all that kind of stuff. And my crimey was with me on the bus, and I guess he seen it in my face. He was like, don't trip, fool. You're going to be good. You got this. Don't trip. But it was just like seeing the tower and seeing the barbed wire and all that. It was just like, oh, dang.
This is my reality, bro. Yep. Now, I've always wondered how it, like, especially when you guys are opening up, like, new prisons. And this is kind of jokingly, but at the same time, I want to know how it is. Like, is it like almost when you go to a nice hotel in Vegas and everybody in the morning comes out and puts their towels where they want to lay and say, this is my section. So how is that when it's a new prison that, okay, there's tables here, back then there's weights, there's this. How does that get delegated? You guys, people just come out and say, this is our section, or do people talk beforehand?
So at Wasco, there wasn't none of that there. There wasn't there. It was so brand new. It was just a dirt yard. And I was only there about a month, maybe a month and a half before I got transferred to a regular main line. But I have opened up other prisons or been at other prisons when they were still within their first year. Ironwood, High Desert, Salinas Valley. And because I wasn't at that level where I was involved that much to know, I know people talk. You know what I mean? I know people talk. And sometimes the talks don't go good and stuff follows after that. You know
we're fighting for corners of this of this yard.
Yeah, it happens.
Which is kind of crazy.
Right.
So I heard a story on your YouTube channel, Change Man for Life. You guys better check that channel out.
Check me out.
You're in the hole, and Charles Manson was playing a song for you guys.
So I was in Corcoran's shoe. I'm in Corcoran's shoe. What's happening? We're getting calls already?
Chris is calling somebody right now.
He's like, this interview's whack. I'm going to call somebody on the
Nah,
phone.
this is great. This is great.
So, yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was the first time or the second time I was in Corcoran's shoe, because I did 2 shoe terms at Corcoran.
Okay.
But I think it was the first time. I was there from in 94 and 95. And the yard I was on was 4A. I was in 4A2 left. And one of the buildings they had was the PHU, Protective Housing Unit. That's where Manson was at. Manson, Sirhan, other high notoriety cases, stuff like that. And so if I'm facing the buildings, the building I was in was the furthest left. And then it goes to the right. The far right is the Protective Housing Unit. So when you're going to law library, medical, anything like that, of course you get escorted. And I guess the Judas, to make it easier for them, they don't go get one person at a time. They would go, and everybody from this building that's going, put you on a chain, stop at the next building, pick everybody up. So they walk by all the buildings. So as we were walking by the PHU, they have their own little yard. It was a trip. They have a little pull-up bar, a little table, a little grass, because they never go to a regular yard because something happened to them. So they're out there. They happen to be out for yard as we're walking by. And I see this little bitty dude. And I look, and oh, damn, that's Charles Manson. And he's got a guitar. And as we're walking by, he's like, hey, fellas, how you guys doing today? I'm going to play you a song. And this fool starts playing his guitar. And I'm looking, I'm like, dang, that's Charles Manson.
That's
and
Charles
we
Manson.
just kept pushing on to medical, you know what I mean? But yeah, he was just right there playing his little guitar with a smile on his face, enjoying his day.
Yeah, I think most people are very surprised how small Charles Manson is because of the notoriety he had. When you see him on TV, you think he's this big, huge killer, but he's a little tiny
Short
guy,
little
right?
guy, yeah.
That's a story to tell the grandkids, huh?
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
So talk to me about, shoot time, man. How was that for you? How did you keep sane? And absolutely, what was the worst part about it?
So when my first shoot term, I was in Ironwood, right? A riot was supposed to kick off between the homies and the blacks. So, the way they were doing it then, the people that were in charge at that point, they wanted all the lifers to be the first wave because there wasn't a lot of us there at the time. Ironwood was a level 3. I had made it to a level 3. Okay. We opened up Ironwood, and it was going to jump off. So all the lifers, everybody got strapped up. And for different reasons, it kept getting put on hold. Wait. I guess somebody got tired of waiting, and they dropped a kite. So they came and searched every cell of all the lifers. So they caught me and my cellie with 2 knives in my mattress. So I ended up catching a shoot term, right? Possession of a weapon. So I go to Corcoran's shoe. This 1994. So this is the time when the Gladiator fights that they were staging was already slowing down because the feds were investigating already. When I got there, I caught the tail end of it. It was still happening, but not to the degree it was in the late 80s and 91, 1993. The feds had already started investigating, so they were being a little more.
Did you already have wind that's going on, or when you got there, people started explaining to you what was going on in that, as far as the cops making people fight?
Yeah, I had never heard about that before, right? I didn't know nothing about it. So when we got there, it's crazy. So we're on the bus. We're going from Ironwood, which is in Blythe, to Corcoran. It's a mission. It's a long drive. So we go and we get there, and on every transport like that, there's the regular transport Judas, and then there's a sergeant. So the sergeant, when we pull in, he tells us, look, since you guys behaved yourself, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of game. This is a hands-on facility. So when you get off the bus, prepare yourself because they hands-on right here. I'm just letting you guys know. So I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? It's a hands-on facility. What the heck? So the Corcoran Judas come, and you see them come all running out looking like Ninja Turtles. They got all kinds of gear on.
Goon squads.
They all come running out. They got masks on. Their name badges got tape over them. So you can't see their name because you can't report you don't know who it is. You know what I mean? So then they got their clipboard, and they start calling us by name. Smith, inmate Smith, step up. And what they would do was they would read off why you're in the shoe. So it'd be like, inmate Smith, assault on staff. Inmate Smith come off. Inmate Smith goes to the right. They grab him, take him this way. The next one, inmate Garcia, assault on inmate. They grab him, take him the other way. But they got to this is where the hands-on part comes in. When you're on the bus, your hands are shackled to a waist chain, and then you got the ankle chains on. So when they get you off the bus, they got to remove all that and put you into their handcuffs so they can escort you to your building. They're afraid you're going to do something if your hands are loose. So there's like 4 of them on you, bro, like grabbing you, snatching your head, pulling it all back, roughing you up, and getting those shackles and all that off you and getting you into handcuffs. You're shackled in the front. Your hands ultimately end up in the back, handcuffed.
They're roughing you up somewhat.
Roughing you up, giving you a knee here and there.
And if you try to fight, you're going to get it, bro.
And there's no way. And then especially the dudes that were assault on staff, they were really getting it. So as I'm being escorted back to my building, I had a little bit of blood on my feet where they had stepped on my feet, and my wrists were a little bit busted up from the handcuffs. So when I got to my building, the officer there sees me. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cool." And his partner, the one that had escorted me, was like, "Oh, I guess he don't know." And I'm like, "Don't know what?" "Oh, they were under investigation." So they were talking about the feds. We're checking them out already, right? So that was like the first I had heard of it.
And when you got there, did you start hearing from other guys that had been there for a while what the program was and all that, as far as the guards put him to fight?
So the cellie I got at the time, he was from San Diego, the first cellie I got when I got there. And he ran me down on what was happening amongst the convicts. You know what I mean? He didn't really say nothing about the Hoodas were popping doors or anything like that. Because like I say, they were kind of slowing down because they were under investigation already. But yeah, he did talk about it. It's happened before, but mostly it was like, let me know who was there, who, if this cell door opens, rush them fools. If that cell is open and your cell's open, rush these fools.
And this is all new to you. You're still a young guy, and you're going through this whole madness, homie.
Still young, still early in my term, just learning all, you know what I mean?
And what was your week program in the shoe, as far as going out to yard or sitting in the cell all day? What was it looking like in a week?
So early in the morning, wake up, they got the gallo, you know what I mean? The homie that got the spot right there. We'd get on the door. In Corcoran shoe, it's honeycomb doors, which it's a bunch of holes in the door. So you can hear. If people talk out the door, you can hear. So at 5:30, 6 in the morning, they would do the gallo. And cell by cell of the homies, they call out your nickname. So-and-so, buenos dias. And then you better answer. You better be awake. What I mean? You answer, Cubo, buenos dias. You and your cellie. And then they go to the next one, making sure everybody's up.
Program time. And then chow would come, breakfast. They bring the breakfast trays. The Hoodas would pass out the breakfast trays. And then we have rutina. If we don't go to yard that day, because you didn't get yard every day. Was it a cage yard, or was it actual like a small yard in there?
It was a small concrete yard.
Okay.
It wasn't cages yet. The cages came a lot later. It was a little concrete yard.
Big old walls in it, or what?
Big old walls. Okay. You go out there, play a little handball, bust down rutina out there on the days you go out.
How many people are out there with you?
It depends on your yard group. So if you walk in a pod in Corcoran shoe, there's just cells in front of you, right? There's like 5 cells, a shower, 5 cells. On the bottom, 5 cells, a shower, 5 cells. So each of that group of 5 cells was a yard group. Okay. Whoever's in them cells. All norteños and 1 cell of homies, that's your yard. All homies and 1 cell of woods, that's your yard.
They're going to put them out.
Whoever's in that 5 cells, that's your yard group. And ain't no refusing yard. You know what I mean? As far as the homies, you can't refuse yard. You know what I mean? So that's who you go to yard with, and most of the time something was jumping off.
Of course.
You know
wow. I mean? So they're just setting it up like.
Just setting it up. So yeah, we were right there like that for a while. And I actually did get a little taste of what they were doing right there. I had a cellie at that time. He was from Casablanca. I can't remember his name. But so we were in our little yard group. On the other side of the shower, in the next yard group, there was a cell of, they ran other, but they were Arabs, some Arabic vatos, right? They ran other, but they programmed with norteños, right, with a northern raza. So this Huda, and he was one of the ones that he came out in, it was a magazine. I can't remember what. He did interviews on 60 Minutes and all that because he was one of the main ones involved in the scandal. His name was Poindexter. He came in and they made the announcement on the loudspeaker, "Get ready for yard. Turn your lights on if you want yard." So what they do is they would go to everybody's cell and ask you want yard? Yeah, turn your light on. He went straight to their cell. They're not even part of our yard group. They had no business being asked if they want to go to yard. But they also were always giving the Hoodas problems. Arguing, 602ing, being loud, talking crazy, disrespecting the hood all the time. So he goes straight to their cell. "Hey, you guys want yard?" They're like, Okay, yeah. Turn your light on. They turn their light. Right away, the homies in the cell next to us get in the vent. Hey, did you see her turn their light on? We're like, yeah. Should we go out with you? Don't trip, we got it. Me and my cellie are going to be the first cell up.
Right.
So we're like, we got it, don't trip. Sure enough, they came. They took them out, let them out of the yard. A couple other cells in between. They got to our cell. They let us out, put us in the rotunda. Right, we come with our little shower roll. You're in boxers and your shower shoes, right? And you got the boxers you're gonna put on after you shower. You got your little towel roll, your little shoes. Boom, you got your little towel roll. And at that time, they weren't giving the chucks at that time, the state issue chucks. Yeah, right. We were wearing karate shoes back then, right?
Shit.
The all black karate shoe, right? With the little material top and the bottom, plastic, the little plastic, slippery little plastic. So they put us in the rotunda. After they strip us out and everything, they put us in the rotunda, right? They give us our shower roll, and then now there's another yard that actually opens to the door with a window, so you can see who's out there, and they can see who's about to come out. So I got my shower roll. My son's right there. He got his shower roll. I put my hand on the door. I look up, and the gunner's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yeah."
And they're already in there.
Yeah, they're already there.
They have no clue.
They probably knew.
Okay.
They probably knew. You know what I mean? And there's some woods out there, some other people, and so everybody's just looking.
How big are these yards? 20 by 40 or?
I'm thinking maybe 3 of this room.
Okay.
Maybe 3, yeah, about 3 of these.
Okay.
And they're towards the back of the little yard. So I put my hand on the handle for the door. The Huda tells us, "You ready?" "Yeah, we're ready." He hits the button. The door pops. Boom. We run. We already know. I was taught from the moment they got there, the homies teach you never let people come to you. You go. Because on your write-up, on your 115, you don't want to be the victim. You want to be the aggressor. You know what I mean?
Yes,
the mentality, the way of thinking, right? So, boom. My cellie runs at one of them. I run at the other one. We're boxing. Ding, 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 ding. We're boxing. They start yelling, "Get down, get down." And they break out with what they call the block gun, the little wood block, right? He fires around. Boom. We're still boxing. He brings out the real gun now. Chambers one. Clack, clack. And it echoes. It's loud, bro. You're in a little concrete yard, and that thing echoes loud. Clack, clack. At this point, everybody's already yelling, "Hey, fools, get down. Gun. They've been killing people, bro. They've been shooting people. So my cellie and the dude, he's fighting, get down. Me and the dude, I'm fighting. You know, everybody gets distance from each other. We get down. And I did a video about this, too, on my channel. I talked about God having his hand on me because I really should have died this day. The dude I'm boxing with jumps up and starts rushing towards my cellie. So I jump up, and I run at him, trying to cut him off. He lays back down. So now I'm the only dummy standing up in the middle of this little concrete yard. This fool's got the Mini 14 out the window. Everybody's just right there. And in my mind, I'm about to die. He's going to let me have it. So I look around, and the dude my cellie was fighting is right there. So I'm thinking, this is it, bro. I'm about to die. Reach my leg back. Boom. Kicked him as hard as I could in the face with the karate shoe on.
Oh, shit.
Bro, the pain in my foot made me forget everything else, what was going on, right? I grabbed my foot and I just fell to the ground, and I just proned out. By the grace of God, he actually should have shot me.
Yeah,
I'm the only one standing up.
Especially you're going for the head.
I'm the only one standing up. I'm in the act of assaulting somebody. Other than God's hand over me, I don't know why I didn't get shot.
So what's the process after they come in, cuff you guys up? What do? Just put you back in your cell?
They put us back in the cell. They took the other dudes. The one that I kicked, they took him to medical. His cellie they put back in the cell. And I am not joking when I tell you that 20 minutes later, the cop Poindexter comes back, opens the tray slot to our cell, 2 pair of chucks, one for my cellie, one for me, and a brown bag this big full of coffee packets.
Gracias.
Shuts the thing, goes on his way. Doesn't say a word.
Oh, that's crazy.
Gives us our little prize, gives us our little reward.
That's crazy, bro.
Went on his way.
And that was going on for a couple of years in that place.
Yeah. And much worse before that. Much worse before that. Like I said, I caught the tail end because they were already getting investigated. But before that, it was a lot worse.
So now you're getting out. At what point, or what was the shifting point in your life in prison that eventually kind of, light bulb went off and said, this is wrong. There's more to life than gangbanging and all that.
Right. It was years after that. I ended up from there when I got out of the SHU. That for that time in 1995, I went to the main line at Corcoran, and from there is when they started doing the whole trip of 180s, 180 design prisons.
Now, what exactly is a 180 design prison?
So they have what they call 180 designs, and they got 270, and it's the way the building itself is designed. A 180, which is half a circle.
Yes,
that's how the building is set up, and it's divided into 3 pods. So there's A section, B section, C section, each with a wall between and their own entrance door. So if you're in A pod, you can't see nobody or what's going on in B pod, and B pod can't see what's in C pod. It's 3.
But the towers on top can see all 3.
The tower can go to all 3, and there's a door in between that the Huras use to go from one section to the other. Yeah. But convicts, inmates can't go through their prisoners. So you're separated from the other. That's a 180.
Right.
On a 270, it's kind of like a 3. There's a back wall, 2 side walls, and all the cells, and it's open. The cells in A section can see B section and C section.
Okay.
So it's straight view, and everybody's all out there together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the distinction. So on the 180s, it's more secure. It's more tight, more tight, and they can control it more. Right. The doors on a 180. The tower controls them. He pushes a button to open them. He pushes a button to close them. On a 270, at least the ones I had been to, and on level 3 yards, they push it, they kind of pop it, and then you can grab your door and open it.
Okay.
And you're responsible to shut it. You know what I mean? But on the 180, no.
Much more secure.
Much more secure. So what they started doing in 95 was if you had been released from the SHU within the last 3 years, you had to go to a 180. Because they wanted to, people that are coming out of the SHU are still knuckleheads, and so they wanted to send everybody there. So that's when High Desert opened up, Salinas Valley. So they ended up sending me to High Desert. I go to High Desert, and I'm there for about 6 months, and I was able to get what's called a hardship transfer. Back then, if you could demonstrate that you being so far away from home was a hardship, if they felt like it, they could try to transfer you closer, right? Okay. So because my mom had health issues, her doctor wrote a letter saying that, so for those that don't know, High Desert is up in Susanville, up near Reno, Nevada. We actually had to, when we took the bus from Corcoran to High Desert, you leave California, go into Nevada, Reno, and then come back in because it's so much in the forest, right? So it's a drive, especially from Palmdale, you know what I mean? That's like a 12, long drive, you know what I mean? And my mom can't make that kind of drive on the medication she was on for her health. So her doctor wrote a letter saying that it was a hardship. So I went to committee, and they were like, okay, we're going to help you out. We're going to send you to Salinas Valley. Like it's much closer, you know what I mean? That's not much closer at all, but okay. Again, another 180. So I go to Salinas Valley, and I end up picking up another SHU. I ended up getting involved in something. Well, I ended up helping my cellie out. My cellie got into something, and the backup man he had, I'll trip on this. So my cellie's a youngster. He came from YA. Okay. Like in 95, 96 when they kicked all the lifers out, right? Right. So he comes from YA. He's like a soldado. Hey, I want to make my bones. I want to go to the SHU. YA mentality. He wants to earn his stripes. So he's looking for any kind of action that comes up, right? He's from San Diego. So within the San Diego car, something came up, and he raised his hand to handle it. So, and the other dude from San Diego is going to go with him. It's his backup man. The backup man has 3 days to the house, right? Shit. Level 4 mentality. It doesn't matter if I'm going home or not. You know what I mean? So raises his hand to go with him. So they do the jale, right? They whack a dude. I'm standing right there. They take off walking. The victim takes off one way, leaking. Marcelli and his backup man take off the other way on the track. Like a young dummy, I take off over there to catch it with Marcelli. Hey, fool, you good? He's like, yeah, I'm cool. Hands me the knife. He's like, go dump this. Cool, I got you. I grab it. Boom, I'm going. I'm mobbing on the track towards the toilets. As I'm mobbing on the track, ahí viene. Here comes the vato. He's coming this way now. We're heading right towards each other. He's leaking. He's coming. So I seen him. I turn back around. I start walking back. I go to myself. I'm like, here, you're going to need this.
Oh, this was coming this
way.
way.
Here he comes. He's coming. So we all, the 3 of us now, we're walking. Sure enough, the fool comes.
He's still coming this way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, we have balls.
They start going at it. The backup man, Marcelli, they're on him. The backup man throws himself to the ground, prones out. The Huda hasn't seen anything yet. There's no alarm. Shit. They're not screaming, get down. This fool throws himself on the ground. Now the Huda sees it, right? I'm maybe the distance of me to Chris, but twice that right away.
Right.
And my celly's fighting by himself with this dude, right? Can't let that happen. I see the backup man's on the ground. I run to jump in. So my celly's whacking him. He's on the ground. My celly's whacking him. I'm kicking him. Here comes the Huda. That's all the Huda. Now the alarm's going. They're running, screaming. Huda tackles me. My celly doesn't want to stop. They're hitting him. They pulled their sticks. They're hitting him with the sticks. Shit. Spraying him, all that. Eventually they get him off and we go to the hole. So now I'm going back to the shoe. Because one of the Hudas says that he saw a metallic object in my hand. I didn't have nothing, but whatever, you know what I mean? I end up getting a 2-year shoe now because I had a prior shoe term. So I get a 2-year shoe. And it just so happened that I went back to the same shoe building where I was at before, 4A2 left. Right. I'm there a few days, and the Huda's doing count, right? And he's walking by, and he stops, and it was a Huda that was there before, and he recognized me. He's like, hey, weren't you just here a couple of years ago or something? And I was like, yeah. And in my young, stupid mind, yeah, I was just here. And he just shakes his head, and he's like, you don't get it, do you? And mobs off. So that was the first little seed planted.
Okay.
Right? Do my little shoe term. End up getting kicked out to New Folsom. I'm there. Just doing time. Time's going by, doing my little thing, working in PIA, doing what I do. Ended up getting transferred to Tehachapi.
At this point, are you like not thinking about the outside world at all? Are you trying to distance yourself from the outside world?
Yeah, I'm not no thoughts about the outside.
Okay.
You know what I mean? My mom was on phone calls with my mom. You're gonna come home someday, Mom. I'm never coming home. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing to say. I cussed my mom out one time. You know what I mean? And Mom, forgive me. I had finally got to a point where it's like, get it through your freaking head. I'm never coming home. Stop telling me that I'm gonna come home someday. You stop hoping that I'm gonna come home. Live your life. This is my life. I have to live this. You know what I mean? And thank God I had a praying mom that always kept believing and always kept, you know what I mean, that hope, that faith. But yeah, so now my son, he was 3, he's getting older. My brother has kids now, so I'm having nieces and nephews. My son's older. I'm getting older. I'm tired of being, in the shoe, in the hole. I'm tired of being on 180s and all this stuff that goes on. So now it's when I'm starting to give thought, like, man, I need to kick back a little bit, you know what I mean? But really, the Huda planted the seed, and then, like I say, my nieces and nephews are being born. My son's getting older. So in my mind, now I'm starting to kind of like, I want to show my nieces and nephews, I want to show my son that I'm not a bad person after all. I did something bad. I did something. I don't want to say I made a mistake because that's not the right way to
Horrible
look at
decision.
It. Horrible decision. But that's who I was at the time. But I want to show them that you can rebound from that. So I want to start behaving myself, right? So I'm giving thought. I'm not really putting nothing into action. I'm giving thought to things. I'm getting older. I'm now more playing the background more so than trying to always find out what's going on and all that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I was at. Started going to school. Ended up working my way back to level 3 eventually. From the first time I was on level 3 and I caught my first shoe, it took me, I did 14 years altogether on level 4.
Oh, shit.
Right? 14 years on level 4. It took me at that time like 12 years to get back to a level 3. When I get to level 3, there's new opportunities. They have college there. They have all this kind of different stuff.
Was it hard adjusting to that? Because I got like homies of mine that they're just now going to level 3s, and for the longest time, they're like, I ain't trying to go level 3. I'm trying to stay at level 4 for whatever reason.
And crazy that you say that, because when I was getting ready to go to level 3, that's what some of the homies were telling me. You ain't going to like it, fool. You're going to come back. You ain't going to like it there. They be car tripping. Just different things, right, that the homies are talking about. So, you ain't going to like it, whatever. I got there. I loved it. More freedom. Yeah. We got to go to yard at nighttime. I got to see the nighttime sky.
How long since you seen the nighttime sky? 14 years?
It had been a while, bro. It had been a while. I had got out a couple of times to go to like an AA meeting or something just to get out of the cell. A lot of times that's what I had to do. You sign up just to be able to get out of the cell, and it would happen to be being held in another building, so we'd get out from our building and get escorted. And you'd be out and see the stars or whatever, but it was very rare. It had been a while. So, yeah, now I'm on level 3, enjoying life as much as possible, you know what I mean? Because the way we looked at it, the way I looked at it was being on the main line, being on the yard, is being free. When you're in the shoe or when you're in the hole, you're locked up.
Yeah, you're in jail.
Yeah, you're in jail, within jail. So being on the main line, being on the main line is like being free. You have all your little privileges. You get your visits, your packages, all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So I'm taking advantage of what's available there. Right. Took a trade. Because another thing, too, that had hit my mind at that time was I'm never getting out. I've had kitchen jobs. I've had yard crew jobs. I've had all that. I don't want to be doing this hard labor for 8 cents an hour, 6 cents an hour. You know what I mean? So, okay, what's a good paying job in here? A clerk. You could be a clerk. You could make like 30 cents an hour and be sitting in an air-conditioned office all day versus being out there on the yard digging ditches or working in the scullery, washing pots and pans, you know what I mean? So I took a trade, vocational services trade in what was called office services. So I learned how to type, learned how to use a computer, learned how to do filing, all that kind of stuff, and ended up getting a job in the education department. And that connected me to the dudes that were running the college program. So I enrolled myself in college. This is now like 2008.
Okay.
I enrolled myself. Yeah, I enrolled myself in college. 2 years later, 2010, I got my associate's degree in general studies. I didn't get it in one particular field. Right. You know what I mean? It was just an associate's in general studies, but most of my electives were in business classes because my intent was to get a business management degree at some point. So I'm doing that. My son is older now. He's an adult. And another thing, when I talked about my mom before, being thankful that she was a praying mom and keeping hope, my mom kept me connected to my family. She made a point of bringing my son to see me, bringing my nieces, my nephews, so that they would know who I was.
Nice.
And in her mind, when you come home, I don't want you to be a stranger. I want them to know who you are. Right. You're not going to be a ghost story. They're going to know who their Theo is. He's going to know who his dad is. You know what I mean? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, whatever, Mom.
I think it's something that goes unsaid many times, how powerful, how much like a mom's love goes.
Man.
Because when you see that in jail, prison, or even on the streets, the majority of the time, the one who's there is your mom, bro. Right? Everybody else disappear, wives disappear, girlfriends disappear, friends disappear,
homies,
all day long, all day long. Moms is literally that mama bear that would give her life up for you any day of the week,
right? And
your mom would be like, "I'll trade spaces with him. I'll trade places with him." And
she used to say that. She used to tell me when she would come visit and it'd be time to go, and she'd be crying. She'd be like, "If I could stay and let you go home, I would."
I bet.
You know what I mean? And when I first caught my time, for the first 2 years, people were hanging tough. Women are writing me, homies checking on me.
You're still a hood star.
Oh, yeah, exactly. After like the first 2 years, everybody starts falling off, bro. And there was two of my homies that really were like down for me. One ended up getting killed. One ended up getting shot, passing away.
That, bro.
The other one joined the military and he was gone. You know what I mean? But he's doing good. We still talk all that. But cool. It was just those two, bro, that did anything for me. And at the time, I used to trip out like, "Where are you fools at?" Whatever. Now I understand. People got life to live. People are doing their thing. It's a fantasy, what I believed, what we're taught to believe about. This is your family. We love you like family, all that kind of stuff. None of that is true.
Do you ever find yourself break down and crying in prison?
It happened a couple of times. There was one time I remember distinctly. I don't remember what the TV program was, but somebody was having a baby on the show. They were showing the baby being delivered. And it made me snap to like my son. Triggered me about my son. And I was just like, dang. I grew up without my dad. And now because of my choices, my actions, he grew up, I'm perpetuating the cycle. Yeah. And I am so grateful that my son didn't go the route I went.
Absolutely.
I mean, he had his little troubles, the teenagers get into stuff, whatever. Yeah, but he never, it actually turned him off to gangs. He didn't want nothing to do with gangs. Like I say, again, he went through his little issues. He's gone through his little issues, but nothing like what it could have been. And I'm super grateful for that.
I was having a conversation off air with Chino and Monteflores.
Yeah.
You know him, right?
Shout out, Chino.
The homie was out here on What's the Word podcast here on the platform. And, we were talking, and he was saying, pretty much what we always talk about and say, you think you're going into jail, you think you're going to the promised land, you think this is what I want to do, because a lot of young gang members, they believe that's the promised land.
Right.
Here's what it's all about.
Right.
And then once you get there and you're like, this is it? This is what I was looking forward to? When did you come to that moment?
Probably this time where I was going to college. Now I'm educating myself. I'm getting educated. And I'm seeing other people change. So it made me start looking at things differently, right?
Right.
And again, I'm noticing, like you said, it's all this whole time, it's been my mom. A few females here and there, come and go, fall off, come visit, whatever, but consistent, mom. Mom's sending packages. Mom's making sure I have money. Mom's coming to see me. Mom is bringing my family. Mom is taking my phone calls. It's just mom. Where are the homies at? Where's all this love? Where's all this, you know what I mean?
Homie.
Out of sight, out of mind, bro. You know what I mean? You ain't there. Oh, well, in my mind, what I thought the life was about, okay, I'm busted. You're going to go to my house and make sure my mom is good, right? You're going to go make sure my kid, at the time he was 3, so you're going to go make sure he has his little clothes, and you guys are going to do what I can't do because I'm not there. Heck no. The opposite. They trying to get at my girl. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's total like, oh, well, you ain't here. That's your bad. That's what you get. Gracias for the parole. Gracias for being in there repping. And then I'm in there repping. You know what I mean?
Right.
And all for a while, bro. Because for me, 1, being half white. 2, being from a small town, Palmdale, nobody never heard of. You know what I mean? Right. From where? What? Lawndale?
There's gang there?
Palmdale.
Like,
yeah. Who you guys gang bang against? Tumbleweeds? Jackrabbits? What's going on out there? So I had this chip on my shoulder. I'm going to be extra because I'm going to show you that I'm just as Mexican as you. I'm just as down as you cats from L.A., from the Valle, whatever. That was my mentality, being young and going to prison, you know what I mean? And then when it all comes crashing down, like, wait a minute, this is all nonsense.
That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us.
It is, bro. It is. It's like, where you cats at? I was willing to die, and I did kill.
Literally.
Not... So, well, it wasn't a gang-related murder.
But it's still for the hood.
But it was based off of the gang-related mentality.
Yes,
you know what I mean? It was based off the gang mentality and me wanting to represent where I'm from and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes crashing down, it's like, well, wait a minute. What the heck? It's just my family been here all this time. Where are you guys at? What?
Young guys seem to believe that, you're going to smoke somebody. They're going to put this big old mural of you in the hood. They're going to make a statue. Like in your head, you glamorize it so much. We all did it as young guys.
Right.
And then, you get busted. Like out here, homies get busted all the time. At least once a year, somebody's getting busted for like a hot one, right? And homies talk about it for a few days. And after that, it's like, where the girls at? Where's the dope at?
Right.
It's just like, all right, he's busted. And
who's this Heina talking to now?
Yeah, bro. That's how unfortunate it's not unfortunate to become. I think it always was that. Just now it's more in your face and you kind of know it.
Right.
So for young guys who are listening, this guy went through it, man. You spent decades of your life in there, and I'm sorry to say rightfully so, because you took a life.
Absolutely.
Right? Rightfully so. And it was for nothing.
For nothing.
Somebody lost their life that really wasn't doing anything wrong,
Right.
And your family lost you. It's just, It's such a hard cycle.
Right.
And so in prison, you eventually started, and you say yourself, and I want to get your spill on this, you started gangbanging for the Lord.
Absolutely.
Right?
Gangster for Jesus.
Yeah. So first, what does that mean to you, gangbanging for the Lord? And then what was that day or moment that you finally, said, you know what, I'm going to start working for the Lord instead of for the hood?
Right. So I got to level 3. I was doing the college thing. I was programming.
How many years you been in now?
This is like 2010 that I'm still on the level 3, right? And my mind is starting to change, and I'm starting to see things different.
So you're about 20 years in. I was 19 years in.
Yeah. Wow. And laws are starting to change too at that time.
That's right.
Right. So now people are talking about the very slim chance of maybe someday going home. So a lot of cats are starting to do what they need to do to maybe that'll happen for them someday. I'm still not there yet. I'm seeing them and I'm like, nah, it's never going to happen. So now my points get to where I'm about to get sent to level 2. I don't want to go because level 2 is dorm living, right? I don't want to go to a dorm. I've been in a cell for 19 years. Just me and a cellmate. We got our own little space, our own stuff.
Our own
routine. It's quiet. We're clean. All that kind of, you know what I mean? I don't want to go to a dorm. So one of the fellas tells me, I know a hura that'll hook you up. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go get at him. So we go talk to this hura, and the homie tells him, hey, officer so-and-so, my boy right here doesn't want to go to level 2. He needs his points jacked up. It's like, okay, I'll do you the bottle. He writes me a 115, right? Like if I was out of bounds, right? So I went to my committee hearing, and that boosted my points back up. So I stayed level 3, cool. Another year, doing the same thing, going to school, doing what I do. That year went by, my points drop again. Now it's time to level 2 again. Man, I don't want to go. I happened to talk on the phone to a homegirl of mine. Her name was Mona. I'll never forget the advice Mona gave me. Mona had did time too. She was celled up with a lifer. And she tells me, look, you going to level 2 is a test. That's the closest out of all this time you've been in prison, level 2 is the most like the streets that you will have seen yet, in the fact that you'll have to deal with different personalities, different people, different stuff going on that you haven't had to experience on a level 4 or level 3. On level 2, you're going to have to intermingle with all kinds of personalities, races, all kinds of stuff is going to happen. Right. So they want to see, can you handle that? Because if you can't handle that, you're never going to be able to handle the streets again. So I'm like, Again, I'm still not even tripping really off going home. I'm like, all right. And then what she tells me is this. She goes, if you don't, she goes, go. And if you don't like it, you know how to get back. Yeah, pretty much. What to do, right? I'm like, you're absolutely right. Okay, absolutely
cool. Right. Shout out to Mona.
Boom. I go to level 2. Went to Chuckawalla, just right down the street from Ironwood. I go to Chuckawalla, level 2. R&R, they gave me my property and stuff. And boom, I go to my building. I walk in, and I'm like, goodness, madhouse, bro. Madhouse. 200 people loose, just moving everywhere because it's not cells. In Chuckawalla, it was cubicles. And within a cubicle is 5 bunks, 2 high, some 3. On the bottom tier, the bunks were 3 high. On the top tier, they were 2. And so it's just people everywhere. Running around, loud, screaming.
The whole community of cons in there.
Everybody. And I was just like, what the heck is this? You know what I mean? So I went to my assigned bunk, met my cubies, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this out. So I'm there for the level 2 for a little while. That was 2010 when I got there. I got there and I'm running into cats that I had known on the 4-yard, right? And some of them are going to church and some of them are going to school and other ones are preparing for a board. And this is all new to me because I've never been around nothing like this before. So one of the fellas I knew, I don't want to put his name out there, but he was from Seven Oaks, from Compton, right? Okay. Good friend of mine. On the level 4 is Gagapalo, always into, with it. So I get here and he's going to church. He's doing positive things for himself. He tells me one day, hey, go to church. Church? What? No, bro, I'm cool. You know what I mean? What do I want to go to church for? They got food or something over there? What's going on? You know what I mean? Nah, it's just there's a lot of good stuff happening over there. I'm cool. So, boom, keep doing our little thing. You know, I'm getting adjusted to having more freedom. Right. You know, you're not locked in a cell. You're walking around, go get in the shower. Whenever the showers are on and open, shower when you want. You go watch TV, go to the yard. They got night yard, all kinds of stuff going on. Freedom. You know, the most freedom I've experienced in the whole time I was in prison. This is already now like 19, 20 years that I've been in. So on one particular night, they're going to have church, and another cat that I had known was going to give his testimony. He had become a Christian, and he was going to give his testimony. So everybody was inviting me, come on, let's go to church. Let's go support the homie. I'm cool, bro. You guys go ahead. I don't want to go to church for what? So when the yard opened that night, everybody took off to church. Day rooms open, yards open. I'm like, where everybody at? Everybody that I kick it with, they had went to church, right? So I'm like, man, ran and put my clothes on and took off over there. So I'm listening to the homie give his testimony, and he's in tears, bro, talking about what God has done in his life. Saved him from drug addiction. Just laying out everything that his life was when he was a hardcore gang member. This dude was a lifer also. He had 1 murder and like 8 attempts, and he was doing time. He had been down for a while, and his name was well known in the system for putting in work and all that kind of stuff. And here he is talking in front of a group of like 75, 80 other convicts, crying and just glorifying God for what he's done in his life and how he's changed him and all that. And I'm sitting there listening, and I felt something but didn't know what it was. Didn't know how to explain it. Didn't know why am I feeling this way? Like guilty. You know what I mean? I'm feeling this conviction, like over the fact that I've taken somebody's life, all the stuff I've done throughout all my time of running the streets. And I kind of just brushed it off, like, yeah, whatever. Boom, we go back to the building the next day, and days go by, and people are inviting me to church. Hey, you know, we saw you at church the other day. Come back. Nah, I'm cool. By this time now, 2011, I watched my first lifer walk out the gate. Shout out to the homie Justino from San Diego. Justino, he was a Christian brother too. He worked in the canteen, and it was like a big deal. Justino's going home. Justino's going home. So the day he was going, they call you like early in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning, right? We're all looking out the window. Me, I've never, ever seen a lifer go home before, right? So I'm literally watching this man walk out the gate, and I'm just like, it's true. It can happen.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, it gave me a little bit of hope. So, and then now laws are changing. They had the 3-judge panel where they ruled that the California prison system was overcrowded, and you've got to start letting people out. Somehow, some way, you guys got to reduce your population. Yes. So one of the things they came up with was like, okay, these lifers that are doing good, let them go home. They've been down 20, 30 years. They haven't gotten in no trouble in so many years, whatever, let them go home. So there's hope now. So now I've seen somebody go home. My mentality is different, and there's real hope because laws have been changing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing whatever I need to do to prepare for the board. I'm going to take classes, self-help classes. I'm going to do whatever. And somebody told me when they were talking about going home, and I was like, bro, they're never going to let us out. And they were like, okay, that might be so, but it won't be because I didn't do what I need to do. He goes, I'm going to do everything the board wants. And if they don't let me out, okay, they don't let me out. Big deal. I've been here 20 years. What's 20 more? But it's not, they're not going to be able to say, well, you didn't do this, so that's why you're not going home. And that stuck with me too. That resonated with me. So now I'm getting prepared to go to the board. I'm taking a lot of classes, but these classes are being held in the chapel. That's where they were having the classes at. And the dudes that are running the classes are the Christian brothers right there. You know, inmates, convicts, right. But you know, they're already serving the Lord and doing their thing. They're the ones that are teaching the classes. So I did a class called Biblical Principles for Former Gang Members. I take this class, and I dug it. It was a good class, right? I learned a lot from it. And I asked the dude that taught it, how can I teach this class? He says, well, you got to start coming to church. Okay. So I started going to church. At the time, I don't know that the more I'm going to church and I'm reading the Bible and stuff, something's happening, right? I don't know it at the time. I think I'm just going to church and reading the Bible to spend time. You know what I mean? Right. Something to do to occupy time. But there's a change going on in me. Little by little, I'm getting more and more involved in church activities. Start going to Bible study. Start going to prayer meetings. And this is where it really came where I made that change. The prayer meetings were on, we called it intercessory prayer. And all the Christian brothers would go to the chapel and you pray for other people. So the yard was supposed to open, so we go to chapel. The yard doesn't open. For some reason, they were short of staff or whatever. They don't open the yard that day. So in our building, all the Christian brothers that lived in that building decide to hold the prayer there in the building, right? So I go. I've been going to all the little prayer meetings. So there we are in the middle of the building in a circle, blacks, Latinos, Chinos, whites, everybody in a circle holding hands. Shit. I'm holding hands with a black dude here. I'm holding hands with an Asian dude here, and we're praying. There's somebody in the middle with the Bible. We're reading, and then we all start praying. 5-10 minutes. Get finished. Everybody, all right, hugging, shaking hands. Everybody starts going back to their beds. I'm going back to my cube, and it snaps to me what just happened. I just stood in front of the whole building, everybody watching, all the homies looking, holding hands with guys of different races, praying. And I'm like, uh-oh. And sure enough, here come 3-4 dudes coming. And I see them mobbing straight towards my cubicle. And one of them was homeboy that had the say-so right there, him, a couple of his boys, they're coming. And I'm thinking, oh, man, it's about to be some problems right here, right? So homeboy comes, and he gets as close as we are, and he's like, hey. He calls me by my nickname. He goes, hey, are you a Christian now or what? And I knew that right then and there I had to make a decision. You know what I mean? And this is not a time to joke, not a time to play. Because whatever comes out of my mouth next is going to have grave consequences, right?
Can't serve two masters.
Can't serve two masters. So I looked him dead in the eye, and I'm like, yeah, homie, I'm a Christian now. And I'm thinking, oh, here it comes any minute. I'm like bracing for it. You know what I mean? And he hugs me. He gives me a hug. He's like, all right, you got our blessing. He goes, but, because you know the consequences if you do.
Double dip.
If we find you doing what a Christian shouldn't be doing, you know what the consequences are, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. Because I had seen it before. You know what I mean? When I was on the level 4s and stuff, I never looked down on Christians. You know what I mean? When I was doing my thing, I never looked at them bad. But to me, it was kind of like, whatever. You know what I mean? Hey, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. I'm going about my business. But I've seen things happen. I seen one dude get whacked. He was saying he was a Christian, but he ended up getting caught buying dope from another race.
Right.
And owed. He couldn't pay, so that other race came to the homies and were like, hey, this dude, what?
That for the Cristiano.
Got whacked. But so, the homeboy let me know in no uncertain terms, there's an expectation of how you're going to act from now on.
Did you sleep that night?
It was rough. You know what I mean? It was rough. It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders in one sense. But in another sense, I've seen crooked stuff happen. I've seen people smile in their face. No, yeah, homie, that's cool, that's cool.
Right,
and I'm like, you know what I mean? Was that legit? Was that blessing legit, or was it like, okay?
So you were on your toes for a minute until finally.
So I'm being through shy. You know what I mean? All the whole time, but it was a great burden off me that okay, now I can be a normal person. I guess is the word. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense to people, but I could be me.
You could be you.
I could be me now. I wasn't I don't have to any longer be naughty boy from Palmas. I could be Jim. You know what I mean? I could be Jim. And it wasn't long after that I introduced myself for the first time as Jim to somebody. Because you know how it is.
Yeah,
you're meeting somebody, you're so-and-so from such and such.
Yeah,
that's for everything, right?
Absolutely.
So one day, not too long after that had happened, I'm at my bunk, and there's a dude coming up the stairs, and he's looking right at me, so I know he's coming to talk to me. So he's coming, so I get up, and I go over there, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for the homie from Palmas. And I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm Jim, bro. And he's like, no, I'm looking for the homeboy. Yeah. I was like, well, that's me, but I'm a Christian now. I don't go by that no more. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. And he turned around and started to like walk off, and I was like, well, what's up? What did you want? Oh, no, I was just going to ask you about your homie so-and-so. He goes, but I'm not even going to get at you like that, you know what I mean? I was like, all right, cool. And he went, and that's where my little journey started. Trip out on this, that from there, everybody that was already there already knew me, and they saw and heard what had happened, and everybody was cool with it. But new cats would transfer in that I had known from level 4, level 3, and they didn't know about the change in me, right? So when they would get there and I'd spot them, I'd right away go, hey, homie, let me talk to you. Pull them to the side. Look, bro, you know me as this, but that's not who I am no more. My name is Jim. I'm on this Christian walk. And if that bothers you, if you don't want to talk to me, you don't want to be my friend or whatever, that's cool. I respect that. I understand. And out of 8, 9 times that I did that, not a single one had a negative reaction. Okay. Everybody was like, oh, that's cool, fool. Shake my hand, embrace me. That's good, that's good. I hope things work out for you. No one had anything bad to say.
I think what your prior history of, how you were pretty much putting it down and doing your thing for so many years helped you do that. Because
absolutely.
If you would have gone to prison in your first year, I'm turning Christian.
Right.
You're going to be looked down upon.
Right. A lot of, especially on the level 4s, I've seen that. I've seen that happen. People decided. And now it's crazy because now I understand what they mean when they say, I felt the call of God on my life. I feel this calling, so I'm going to respond to it. At the time, I didn't know what that meant. So it would be like, oh, no, you're just scared. You're on the 4-yard, you got time, you're just scary, so you want to run Christian. You know what I mean? I was on a level 2. And like you said, I had already done gang of years on level 4, gang of years on level 3, shoot terms, all that kind of stuff. So it is a little bit different than somebody their first day coming in and saying, but when I look back at it, I have respect for those cats that made the change on level 4, because not anybody can do that.
That's
you know
tough.
What I mean? It's tough.
Well, that's almost equivalent to getting jumped to the hood, and in 1 month you say I don't bang anymore. Like
right, exactly.
Right. So
exactly.
Did you ever have a situation? One of my homies who got out maybe like 4 years ago, he pulled about 20-something years for murder, and he's like, fool, like you, it's crazy, homie. He's like, I'd be next to fools, and they'd be like, you're a fucking punk, fool. Like, on his ear, like because they know he's programming. But he
Right,
wasn't
right, right.
Christian. He was just like,
Just programming.
I did my shit. Went to the guy in the yard, say, "Homie, I'm
Right.
done. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this shit for 20 years." And the
Trying to
guy's-
go home.
Yeah, and he said that fools would literally try to get him to screw his off and like you a punk, like this and that. He just looked at him like, dude, like if you ain't gonna do nothing, did you ever run into anything like that? I think he paroled at a level 3, so I don't know if it was a little different. And
Yeah, it was a little different. I personally didn't experience anything like that. The level 2 I was on was a mainline GP level 2, but it was a programming yard, meaning that like the majority of people there were lifers trying to go home. So things happened, but not,
Now, not to put you on the spot or anything, but that's what we do here sometimes.
Right.
I noticed you said that you paroled out of a GP. I know you say it doesn't really matter, but doesn't it? I mean, after so many years, wouldn't you feel a little worse saying I programmed out of a bad yard?
It depends. I think the fact that I stayed GP, it's funny that you say that because not that long ago, I talked to some of my younger homies.
Right.
When I say younger, I mean younger than me. I'm 54. So some of these cats that are like in their 30s.
Yeah, we think they're kids in
Yeah.
their 30s.
I call them my younger homies. I don't really like hang out with the homies that are claiming the neighborhood just because that's not my life no more. But I on social media I talk to them. I've had some come to me for advice. I've had want to talk to me about stuff. And not that long ago, one asked me, "Hey, did you stay GP when you became Christian? You stayed on GP?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." So it matters to some people. I never had a need to. And that's something, too, that it took me a minute to come to this realization or this opinion. People do what they feel they need to do what's right for them.
Right.
There was a point where, to me, if you went to an SNY or you PC'd up, you're a lame, period. I don't look at people like that no more. I look at it like you did what you felt was right for you. Some situation occurred in your life that made you think that was the best decision for you. Who am I to knock that? It was not the right decision for me. I had no need to. I didn't have drug debts. I wasn't scared of nothing. I didn't have a case that was going to get me in trouble. There was, you know what I mean? I had done all my level 4 time, my level 3 time, my shoot terms, all that. Now I'm just trying to change my life. But for me, there was no need to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can respect that.
I don't know if I had gone that route, would I think less of myself? Probably not, because in my mind, I would have had a legit reason to.
Yeah, I don't, not even necessarily, I don't at all, like really think less of people that did not, that went to SNY. But the issue I do have is like with people on YouTube channels who have there's a lot of them nowadays. I'm not pointing one single person out, right? That debriefed or snitched or this or that, and now they have a YouTube channel and they're talking all this prison stuff. To me, that's equivalent to somebody who's turning Christian and then all of a sudden all in the mix. You're double dipping.
Absolutely. And I don't know how many of the videos you've seen from my channel, if you've seen my introduction video or not, but that's why I don't do that type of content on my YouTube channel. Let me plug Change Man for Life on YouTube. I've said that openly. The minute I became a Christian, I lost any rights to that other life, to talk about it, to have opinions on it, to speak on it, any of that kind of stuff. I will talk about stuff that I personally did or experienced as it relates to me trying to give hope to people, as it relates to me trying to tell people what you don't want to get caught up in. But I don't talk politics. I don't talk war stories. I don't do none of that because of the fact that I'm a Christian and that's not my life anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when there are those cats, like you said, that decided to go that route, and they're over there talking all that craziness.
Yeah, bro.
It gives you, it takes away any validity to what you're talking about. How are you over here talking all this high power stuff, but you weren't that? You know what I mean? And like I said, I've done stuff and I've seen stuff, and I'm not proud of it, but it was my life at the time. You know what I mean? But because I am a Christian, because I am a man of God, because that's what my channel is about. My channel is about spreading hope and spreading the name of Jesus. I don't talk all that unless it somehow directly relates to me. You know what I mean?
And the Christian thing, I think a lot of homies would frown upon it because, especially like in our era, in the 90s, 80s, you would see the same guys who were all cristianoed out in the daytime. I'm seeing him shoot up dope at night in the alley. And I'm like, isn't that fool that was just preaching to us right now?
Right.
You know, and we would see that so often. And now it seems like it's changing quite a bit. Nowadays, especially like, I know you got heat. I don't know if heat's the word, like for joining the Victory Outreach and being part of the church, because they had a stigma about them that having a lot of people like that. Did they not back in the days?
Yeah, absolutely not. The funny story, when I was getting ready to come home, I was like three days or so getting ready to go home, right? And one of the Christian brothers came to me and he was like, hey, bro, look, you're going home. It's different. Being a Christian on the streets is way different from being a Christian in prison. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot more temptation and stuff out here. But homeboy was like, you need to find a good church to go to. And whatever you do, don't go to Victory Outreach. Right? At the time, I didn't know anything about Victory Outreach. I'd never been to one.
because you were in jail when all that stuff was really pushing.
The only thing I knew about Victory Outreach was Duke of Earl. I seen the Duke of Earl movie, you know what I mean? I seen the Duke of Earl play one time before I got locked up. But I didn't know anything about Victory Outreach. But that's what he told me. Whatever you do, you go find you a good church, find you a good Bible teaching church. Do not go to Victory Outreach. And I was like, why? Just curious, you know what I mean? And he was like, because they still promote the gangster lifestyle. He goes, you'll see the pastors up there with these big brochas and, hey, homie, sabes que, loco, you need to give your life to Jesus. Yes, eh? And at the time, I was kind of tripping, like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? But that's where God ended up putting me. When I came home, I had two former homeboys that were there plugged into the church. One was in leadership. The other one was an usher. And I wanted to go somewhere where I knew somebody. I didn't want to come fresh out of 2.5 decades in prison for murder and walk into a church and not know nobody. Right. And then have to explain, because people ask you, oh, so where are you coming from or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I just got out of prison for murder. They probably would have sent me to Victory Outreach. I mean, here you go. Here's a church that will fit you better. But yeah, there's something I want to say about what you said, that people that are not necessarily living a Christian lifestyle themselves will look at things like that. Like, oh, this dude's saying he's a Christian, but yet he's over here doing this. I understand now we're human. You're going to mess up. Right. You know what I mean? Now, there's people that are legit playing both sides of the fence. Mm-hmm. But then there's people that are legit just having struggles. You know what I mean? Because as long as we're alive and we're in this flesh, we're going to have temptation. We're going to mess up. We're going to sin. We're going to fall back. The whole thing is, do you dust yourself off and keep pushing? It also depends, too, is if I'm, like you said, during the day, I'm preaching the word, I'm carrying the Bible, and I'm trying to tell people to change their life. But then every single night I'm at the bar, was that a one-time thing where I just messed up? Right. Or am I living like that? That's the difference. If you're living like that, bro, then you're playing a game. You know what I mean? You're playing church. But people do mess up and, make bad choices, and you just dust off and keep pushing.
Yeah, to me, like, some people will leave that in the comment sections about Victory Outreach, because us as a platform, we work with them a lot. They work with us. Right. Shout out to Victory Outreach North Hollywood, Pastor Ray and his wife. Right. Nothing but great things come out of there, bro. Right. I don't know what the history was before, what happened, like, let's say the stigma from the 90s, early 2000s, but all I've seen come out of that church is nothing but great things. I see homies of mine who were just straight gangbangers, straight drug addicts, straight penitentiary guys who've been in and out of prison for 30-some years. Now I see them, hey, what's up, Gil? What's up, Strange? But on a positive note, and to me, I see those guys, and I'm like, this church changed this guy into this. I got no problem with it. I see what they do in their community, giving out the backpacks, giving out the turkeys, helping out. Like anything, they always hit me up. Like, Gil, and I go to the church very rarely. I'm not going to say I do, bro, but I support them in anything they do. And from what I've seen from the Victory Outreach, brother, you guys are doing a great thing, man.
I appreciate that. So at Victory Outreach Palmdale, which is my home church, shout out to Pastor Mike and Sister Christina. One of the things, so when I got there, like I said, I went because I knew people. And the pastors and everybody right away was very welcoming to me. Even when they found out, because I was worried, what are people going to think? Of course. Are they going to want to be involved with me? Are they going to want me around their families, whatever? Everybody was very welcoming. And it stood out to me because I remember what Homeboy had said. Pastor Mike and the pastors and the leadership at Victory Outreach Palmdale are nothing like that. Yes, they come from those backgrounds. And every once in a while, a little reference to it might come out. Right. But they don't carry themselves like a cholo anymore, like a gang member. You know what I mean? They're men of God. They're women of God. And what homeboy had told me. Maybe that was his experience, but I didn't experience anything like that. So that's what kept me there and drew me there.
See, but when it comes to people that have lived the lifestyle that we have lived, as far as gangs, drugs, and whatever else, right? You need somebody who's been from that past that will understand you.
You cannot have a Harvard graduate with a suit and tie and go into the neighborhood and try to tell people, hey, change your life.
Right.
You will listen. This is what we always used to say, because when I was in Ironwood on the level 3, a lot of people were taking drug and alcohol counselor classes. They wanted to become a drug and alcohol counselor. And what we would always say was, you having experience with drugs and alcohol will make you a better counselor. If someone's a drug addict and they want to get clean, and you give them an option, okay, here's this person that has never touched dope or alcohol a day in their life, but they went to college and learned how to be a counselor.
Right.
Or you could have a counselor that has that same education, but also is an ex-dope fiend and got clean. Who are you going to relate better to?
Yeah, the person who knows the struggle.
The same thing when you're trying to spread the gospel. If you're in the neighborhood, you're a gang member, you're partying, whatever, someone comes that looks like you, talks like you're going to relate to them more. You'll give them a chance to even say something.
Absolutely.
You'll hear them out. It's about reaching people. But things are changing with Victory Outreach. At our local church in Palmdale, we have ex-gang members, we have ex-drug addicts, all that, but we got doctors, teachers, we got people from the professional world that found out about our church because, like you said, they like the work we do in the community. They found out about what the mission of Victory Outreach is, which is to go into the inner cities of the world and help hurting people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro.
And a lot of people, like you said, I know people in the comments will talk about Victory Outreach or whatever, but they're looking at the 80s and 90s Victory Outreach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
They don't know the modern Victory Outreach. They don't know the young people that we have in our church, amazingly talented young people, technologically savvy, great ideas on how to do all kinds of stuff. And they didn't experience what their parents did. They might have been raised in the church. Maybe their parents came because they were drug addicts or gang members. But the kid never experienced none of that. They're just a regular kid that was growing up in church. And we're getting a large population now of people that, of course, have issues. We're human. We're on this planet. You're going to go through hurts and pains and struggles. But they're not typical what people think when they associate the name Victory Outreach.
Right. No, to me, when I see them now, that at the beginning when I said gangsters for God, right? That's what they are. They're an army, bro. When we go to places, Pastor Ray's like, all right, Gil, what do you want to set up? I said, set up right here. All right, boys. Boom, boom, boom,
Home,
boom.
a man's home.
And they get in there, bro, and they put in so much work. That's why, to me, it's nothing but respect. And it's a beautiful thing because the Victory Outreach is, without a doubt, changing and helping communities.
Absolutely. Now, do people mess up and have struggles? Of course, but that's part of being human. But overall, you can't say anybody that has a Victory Outreach in their city cannot say that Victory Outreach is not trying to do positive things. Sure. You know what I mean? We're always out there, whether it's feeding people, providing for people's needs, just trying to help hurting people. Our men's and women's home have helped so many people get clean and get their lives together, and then they go on
helping break the cycle.
Helping to break the cycle, bro. Helping to break the cycle.
Now let's rewind it a little bit. Let's go back to the day you were finally granted parole.
Whew.
All right, that was definitely a huge day in your life. Right. Did you go to full board? How did that whole process go?
So I went to board twice. The first time I went to board was in 2013, and I had been my board preparation and my thoughts of even possibly going home was very new at that time. So I went into the board hearing. It's the board commissioner and I don't remember if they call him a co-commissioner or what, but it was a two-person panel, right? Okay. The two-person panel. And we go through this exhaustive hearing, bro, and they drill you on everything from elementary school all the way to the day you're sitting there, everything. They want to know what your family life was like, how you were raised, why and how you became the person that was able to commit such a crime, and how and why are you the person that you now are trying to tell them that you are, sitting in front of them. So you go, I mean, they dig through all kinds of stuff. And prior to that, you go to a psychological evaluation, which is another rigorous hearing, hours long. A psychologist is drilling you, asking you all kinds of stuff. They go through your education history, what kind of rehabilitative program have you been doing, all that kind of stuff. So I'm in my first hearing, and we're going along. Everything seems to be going good. My mom had hired a lawyer, right? Because you can either go with a lawyer that the state appoints you, or you can hire your own lawyer. So, of course, my mom, being my mom, was like, no, I'm going to get you a lawyer, and you're coming home. And, okay, cool, let's go. So we go to the hearing, and everything seems to be going well. They asked me a question I didn't anticipate being asked. So as I had told you earlier, my crime was we were jacking the dope man. That's basically what it turned out to be. We were jacking the dope man. So it was a robbery. It was a murder that happened in the commission of a robbery. When they asked me, and the deal I took was for murder. I took a plea bargain for 25 to life plus 5 for a murder. I didn't get charged with robbery. I didn't plead guilty to robbery. So that's in my head, right? During the parole hearing, they asked me about the robbery. So were you part of the robbery? The commissioner asked me. And I froze up, right? I revert back to what we were taught. You don't admit to nothing. You didn't get caught for no robbery. You're not in prison for robbery. You weren't charged with robbery. No, I didn't. I wasn't part of no robbery. Oh, really? She starts flipping through pages. So all these witnesses that said they saw and heard you telling the man to give it up, they're all lying. And me panicking now, yeah, they're lying. Everybody was loaded. Everybody in the party's loaded. Everybody's high. They're lying. So the victims themselves, because one guy died, the other 2 survived. The other 2 got stabbed and beat up. And so there was 2 surviving victims. They identified me as being part of the robbery. She goes, so you're saying that the victims are lying too? Yeah. They're tripping. They were high too. I didn't have nothing to do with no robbery. Okay, cool. Time for deliberation now, right? They said, okay, we've asked enough questions. We're going to have our deliberation. So they send me to a little holding tank down the hall while they're figuring out how they're going to tell me no. So I'm in the holding tank. By this time, I'm already a Christian. I'm already saved. So the first thing I do is pray. In a hard situation, the first thing you do is go to prayer. So I'm in the little holding tank. I'm on my knees, and I'm praying, God, please let me go home. I'm tired. I miss my family. I want to be with my friends. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my son. Let me go home. It was all about me. My prayer was all self-centered, right? Me. They take me back in there. Okay, they're ready for you. They take me back in, and they deny me parole. They say, we don't think you're ready yet. We think you still think like a gang member. You are still a danger to society if we let you out. So we're going to set your next parole hearing for 3 years.
3 years?
3 years. So to me, that's a win, because in previous years, they could deny you. The minimum denial was 1 year, and the maximum was 5. And then they could deny you anything in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were the denial periods. Well, with I think it was Megan's law, I forgot what law it was, changed that. The denial periods tripled. So now the minimum denial was 3. The highest was 15. Wow. 3, 5, 7, 15, I think, if I remember right. 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, something like that. It's been a minute. And there was cats getting 15-year denial, 7-year denial. It's like, man, it's like starting your life term all over again. Right? You know what I mean? So I scored. They gave me a 3-year denial, they gave me the minimum. In my head, I'm like, ooh, I won. 3 years. 3 years,
nothing
man,
major.
Come on. I could do 3 years of sleep, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking I won. So I go back and, hey, what happened? Oh, I got denied, but I got a 3. Oh, that's cool. Go back in 3 years. The hard part was having to call my mom and tell my mom that I got denied, you know what I mean? But God is good. The power of God is evident in my life. I'm there a year, right? Preparing, getting ready to go back to board, still taking classes, going to school, all that. A year later, I get a notice in the mail. We're taking you back to board. Not 3 years later, a year later. I didn't file anything. I didn't do nothing. My mom didn't do nothing. Nothing had changed. I just get this letter in the institutional mail.
Your heart beating while you're reading this thing.
We're taking you back to the board. And they set the date for 6 months from the time I got the letter. So a year and a half after I had went to the board, I go back again. So it's a different commissioner, a different panel this time, still a 2-person panel. We go through all the same questions. Now they get to, so why'd you lie in the last hearing? Why did you say you weren't part of the first? No, the first they tell me, were you part of the robbery? Yes, sir. Absolutely, I was. Okay, why'd you lie to the last panel? I said, because I panicked, and in a moment of panic, I reverted to what I know. In gang culture, you're taught you don't cop to nothing. You could have it in your hand. What's that? Nothing. You know what I mean? And I was not prepared for the question, so I panicked and reverted back to what I was used to, denial. Okay, but you did it? Yeah, I did it. Okay. So we kept on with the hearing. The associate or assistant commissioner, he was kind of shocked that I was still on general population yard, right? He was like, hey, what yard are you on? I'm on C yard. Oh, you're not in SNY? I was like, no. So now they start questioning me about that. Well, how is that possible? How are you telling us that you're no longer active in gangs and all that kind of stuff, but you're still on a GPR? I said, well, you just have to change who you hang out with. You know what I mean? Instead of hanging out with the fellas, now I hang out with the Christian brothers.
Just like the streets.
I hang out with the guys that are going to church. I hang out with the guys that are going to school. I hang out with the guys that are doing positive things. And you haven't had any problems? No? Okay, cool. And they went on with their questioning. So now it's deliberation time again. Boom, same thing. Down the hall, holding tank. Straight to my knees. God, if you want me to stay here for the rest of my life and serve you, then that's what I'll do. But if you have some work for me to do, send me home. That's what he did. I went back in there. They were like, okay, we're going to reconvene the hearing. Mr. McGrath, we find that you're no longer a threat to society, and we're going to find you suitable for parole. I'm getting teared up right now, just like I did then. All I started doing was start crying. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. But what a lot of people don't know is that that's not the final action. They don't have the final say. They make a recommendation.
Got to go to the governor.
It goes to the governor, which the governor has. It's a 5-month period between the time you get found suitable to when the governor's. He has 30 days to make a decision, but prior to those 30 days, the full board gets to review what that panel did and see if they agree. And if they do, then it goes on to the governor. So they have 4 months, the full panel, and then the governor has 30 days to decide what to do. So I'm like, okay, cool. I went back, called home, told them, but I was like, told my mom, don't get too excited. The governor could change it.
Right.
There was people that, man, were ready to go home, and that phone call came, hey, the governor yanked your date. So I'm just programming still like normal. In my mind, it's not going to work out. I still had that little piece in the back of my mind that would not let me be fully, I'm going home, right? So, something bad's going to happen. Something's going to go on. 4 months. How long was it? The governor's time had not run out yet, right? I know he's still got time, so I'm not even tripping. I'm in the cube one day, me and a partner of mine, and they call my name over the loudspeaker. McGrath, report to the program office. I'm like, oh, man, that's 9 times out of 10, that's bad. You get called to the program office because a family member passed away, you're in trouble for something. It's very rare you get called to the program office for anything good. McGrath, report to the program office. And right away, my heart sinks, like, oh, my mom. You know what I mean? And my partner, he's like, fool, you're going home. Like, it's too early. The governor still has time. There's no way. He's like, I'm telling you, you're going home. Watch. I'm like, nah, man, my mom probably passed away. So I go, program office, knock on the door. The inmate clerk opens the door, and he knows me. So he's like, hey, they called for you, huh? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hold on. So then my counselor comes to the door. You're McGrath? Yeah, come in. I go in, sit down. I sat down. He says, you're the college clerk, right? You work in the college program? I said, yeah. He says, you like your job? I'm like, yeah, I like my job. He says, well, I'm sorry, but I have to take you out of that spot. What? Why? What'd I do? He says, you're going home next week.
Shit.
Bro, everything is like slow motion again, you know what I mean? And I'm just there tripping like, what? You're going home next week. And I just fell to my knees crying, thanking God. And there was a lady in the office. She's even like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
You still get emotional talking about this.
Man, it's a gift that I can't even explain. I'm not trying to make light of anybody's health condition, but imagine if somebody, let's just say people that need a heart transplant, people that need kidney transplant, something, and they get it. They're getting a whole new lease on life. They're getting a whole new chance at life. That's what God gave me. whole new lease on life, whole new chance at life.
How was that final phone call from prison to your mom?
So since the counselor tried to be funny with me, I just said I'm gonna be funny with my mom too. So I go back to the building. Well, first, after he told me and had me sign papers and all that, the program office and the chapel are right next door to each other. So I zipped from the program office right into the chapel. And I come in and I'm like crying, bro, crying. I can't even breathe. And the fellas that are in there are like, what's wrong? What happened? What's wrong? They're like, what? What's wrong? I'm going home. And they started hugging me. And I ran to the altar. I threw myself on the altar and started crying, thanking God. Finally get my composure. I'm like, okay, I got to go call my mom. So I go back to the building, I get on the phone, call my mom. She answers. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing next Wednesday? She's like, I'm working. Why? I need a ride home. I just hear the phone drop. I'm like, oh, Mom, are you? She gets back on. You better not be joking with me. Mom, I need a ride home next Wednesday. Come get me. So the following Wednesday, there was my mom, my brother, and my niece.
How was that hug with your mom?
I have a video of it on my channel. My brother recorded it. Unfortunately, back in 2015, it was like in 280 or something. The quality is terrible. It's blurry. The noise is terrible. But so they called me to R&R. The night before, I got a little ducket saying I was going to R&R the next day for release. So that morning, get up, they take you to R&R, and you got to get processed. They put you in a little van. A little van drives you out to the pickup area. So I got off the van, and I got my bags with my stuff, and I get out, and here comes my mom walking towards me. And me walking, I dropped my bags and hugged my mom, and it was like the best hug I've ever had in my life.
24 years.
24 years. First time hugging my mom as a free and free society, you know what I mean? My brother and my niece are right there. We all hug, all that. We get in the car, we go to eat. That's the first thing everybody wants to do. They get out, go eat, bro. So
where'd you go?
I paroled in the city of Blythe. That's where Chickawalla's at. We went to a Denny's. There was a Denny's right there. So we go to Denny's. We sit down. The waitress comes, menus, all that. The little roll of silverware, right? Isn't everybody? You're going to trip on this. I get my little silverware roll. I open it, and I'm looking, and I'm just stuck. And my mom's like, are you okay? I go, Mom, there's a knife in here.
There's a shank in here.
There's a knife in here. And she's like, well, yeah, we're at a restaurant. I'm like, they're trying to set me up. They're going to send me back. I legit was
tripping.
I haven't had a real legal knife in 2.5 decades. I'm tripping out. Like, there's a knife. Well, yeah, you're at a restaurant. Oh, man, it took me a minute to like, okay, calm down. Get your little knife, cut your food like normal people. You don't have to eat everything with a spoon.
Right.
You know what I mean? From there, we eat, and people are going to be like, what? I don't remember what I ate at that moment, bro. Oh, it's an omelet. I do remember. Ham and cheese omelet, right? So we eat, bomb omelet. At least to me, was bomb.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
anything would have been great
at that moment. That was bomb. So the next mission is to go get some clothes. So we go to the outlets right there in Palm Springs or Coachella, something right there.
Palm Springs.
We go to the outlets right there, and my mom was like, okay, look, so like a giant mall. There's going to be people everywhere. You're going to be okay? Yeah, I'll be cool. Bro, I walked in there. Right away, I started having like anxiety because there's people moving.
More than the dorms, homie.
Man, it was like, and they're like this. Everybody's looking at their phone. Nobody's watching where they're walking. Everybody's like this. So as people are coming, I'm walking. I'm having to dodge people. And I'm getting mad because nobody's saying excuse me.
There's no respect, Holmes.
No respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that was my biggest adjustment in getting out, was what I saw as the lack of respect and common courtesy in people, especially young people. But yeah, so we're walking through the outlets, and I'm like tripping, like, dang, all these people don't say excuse me. They don't see me. Don't they know who I am? Kind of, you know what I mean? Like, what the heck is going on? The second thing that got me was girls. Don't know if they're 17 or 27. I was looking, and I was like, oh, man, what the heck is going on out here? I'm going to get myself in some trouble. But, man, praise God. We went, got some little clothes, went to Walmart and got me some hygiene and some duffel bags to keep my stuff in, and then made the trip back to Palmdale. Got home, ordered a big old giant pizza. And when I mean giant, it was like this super big old pizza. Knocked that back. Stayed up on Facebook all night.
That's what I say. How was your night?
Didn't sleep a wink, bro. My family came over. My son came over. That was like super emotional. My first time, because my son was coming to see me throughout his childhood, but once he turned 18 and had to fill out his own form, he couldn't get approved to get in because he had a little record, whatever. So he couldn't get in to see me. So from the time he was 18 to I got out when he was 27, we hadn't seen each other in person. We talked on the phone, you know what I mean? But we hadn't had a visit physically with each other in all those years. So this was my first time hugging my son, too, in a gang of years. And we were both just broken, crying. My grandkids, because while I was in prison, he had kids. So my oldest 2 grandkids were coming to see me while I was in prison. They were little, though, but they were coming to see me. He had a third that it was my first time meeting her. Wow. It was that day I got out. So I'm there with my grandkids and my family. And, man, it was just a blessing, bro.
How many nights did you wake up and were surprised that you weren't in prison?
It was a minute. The jacked up thing for me, I mean, it's good, but at the time I was like, man, this is jacked up. I had to go to a transitional program. I had to go to a halfway house. Okay. And they only gave me the night to stay with my family. The next day I had to report. Matter of fact, Hollywood.
You're back in.
Yeah, I had to go to the transitional home in Hollywood, and I had to report the next day to my PO and then go to the program. So I just had the one night at home, and I didn't sleep. You know what I mean? I'm on Facebook, and I'm home and all kind of stuff. And the next day I go to the transitional home, checked in. And even though that was kind of like restrictive and all that, still kind of felt like being locked up, still waking up and like you said, like, oh, dang, I'm not in the dorm no more. Why is it so quiet? What's going on? Oh, I'm not in the dorm no more. It was just a trip, bro. And now 8 years later, I still have moments where I'm just like, oh, dang, I'm out. You know what I mean? I try my best to maintain my gratefulness, right? Mm-hmm. But, and I don't know about anybody else, but for me, the longer I'm out, that gratefulness can kind of start going to the back a little bit, but then something will happen that brings it back totally to the front. You know what I mean? Because you get complacent. We're human. You get complacent. You get used to being home, working, this, that, relationship with my wife, all that kind of stuff. But then little things will happen that make me, oh, yeah.
I try to remember those horrible days in jail that I was like, F this place. I don't want to come back here. Because that's what happens to a lot of people who come out of jail. They come out with the mentality, I'm going to do good, I'm going to do this. And then after so much time goes by, they forget. Right. And they act like, it's no big deal. And then you get back in, they're like, oh, no, screw this place, man. Right. What's some advice you would give, lifers getting out now? Because now you see a lot more lifers coming home. Right. Yeah. What's some advice that you would give them to try to help them transition to the streets?
I would say that just taking it slow. One of the things that I struggled with, and still kind of do, but not as much, is looking at my age and looking at what other people my age have or what they've accomplished. I'm 54, and most people my age own a home. Some are getting ready to retire. They travel. They do this. They do that. I don't do any of that because I'm
You're still trying to catch up.
I'm starting over. I'm trying to catch up. But people will remind me, and I have to remind myself that doesn't matter. It's not important.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Take your time and grow. Those things will come. God's going to bless you with those things as long as you keep living right and keep doing right. You know what I mean? So I would say that for people, either lifers or people that did long terms that are coming home, don't be in a rush to accomplish stuff. Yes. Take baby steps. Get used to it, because this world out here is crazy. This world out here is crazy. I mean, it was crazy in there, but it's a different kind of crazy out here now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to do your best to maintain that gratefulness. There's been times like I'm running late for work and I'm at a stoplight and I'm getting mad. Man, our light, hurry up. I got to get to work. And then the Holy Spirit will remind me, you used to stand in the canteen line for hours, and then the yard would go down and they shut the window and you didn't get nothing. Nothing you could do. And you weren't mad. You just knew that was how it was. Yeah. Same. Do the same thing here. There was one time when I was still in prison, I got taken out to medical on the outside. We went to an outside clinic. I had a mole behind my ear that they were worried might be cancerous, so we had to go and have it removed. So they take me on this little raggedy little van. I'm the only person on the van. We drive from I don't remember if I was in Ironwood or Tuckawalla at the time, but it was in Blythe. So we drive into the town of Blythe, and we get to the little clinic, and the transportation cops go in and they come back out and they tell me, hey, you can't go in yet because they had cats from another prison there and they can't mix you because they don't know if you're enemies or something's going to happen, whatever, right? So I had to stay in this little hot, raggedy little van for a few hours. And I'm sitting there and I'm handcuffed and I'm getting mad, bro. Like, but at this time I'm already a Christian, right? So, but I'm getting mad. I'm like, dang it, why it was taking so long? Why can't, all this stuff's going through my head. I look out the little window of the van and I see a lady at the intersection. It's a red light. She's in a wheelchair and she's sitting there waiting for the light. And the Holy Spirit tells me, you're getting mad because you're having to sit in this van. She has to sit for the rest of her life in that chair. At some point, you're going to be able to get up and move around. Don't you think she would wish to just have a few hours to stay in that chair? Stop complaining. I'm like, okay, Lord, I get it. But just little lessons like that.
It's a perspective of how we see things.
Little lessons like that. There's a meme I saw that says there was a guy walking down this. Was it walking? No, it was a guy in a car and a guy on a bike at the intersection waiting on the light. And the guy on the bike is looking at the guy in the car and thinking to himself, man, I wish I had a car so I could drive around instead of having to drive this stupid bike. The next couple blocks, it's the guy on the bike and a guy walking. And the guy walking is looking at the bike and like, man, I wish I had a bike instead of having to walk everywhere. Then at the end of the meme, it's a guy with no legs in a wheelchair looking at the guy walking, saying, I wish I had legs so I could walk. You know what I mean? And that happens. People, we forget to be grateful for little things. My wife talks a lot about how one of the things that attracted her to me was my gratefulness for every little thing. Bro, I used to be so happy to just be able to get up and go to the fridge and get food when I want. Because before I was told when I could eat. Oh, yeah. Or you had to get in the locker and get a ramen and hook it up. You know what I mean? Now, whenever I want, I can get up, go to the fridge, get some milk, get some fruit, whatever. I can, just get up and move around, shower when you want, go here, go there. And I'm still grateful for those things, but like the first couple of years, it was just like, I can't believe it. I could just get up when I want and go to the fridge.
Free man for life.
Free man for life. Come on. That's right.
So now let's talk about your YouTube channel. I see you got your YouTube channel. What do you hope to inspire by doing the YouTube channel?
So I'm kind of trying to figure it out still. But my intention when I first decided, you know what I'm going to do? The very first video I ever did was like 5 years ago. And I just talked about some Bible verses, right? I kind of almost gave a little sermon, right?
Right.
And then I never did nothing else. I just did it for the heck of it. And then I started discovering prison podcast channels and all kinds of stuff. That's how I ended up coming across your channel.
You found the YouTube Yarda.
Found the YouTube Yarda, bro. And I was like, you know what? If I know how to do anything, I know how to work on the yard. You know what I mean? Let me step out here into the Yarda and see what's up. You know what I mean? So make sure they don't check my paperwork.
Yeah, check your paperwork.
My paperwork got before we go any further. My paperwork got checked on the YouTube Yarda one day, and not in a bad way. But I did a video about parole board, right? I was doing a video about parole board, and somebody commented, "Did you parole from an SNY yard or from GP?" Right, and I paroled from a GP yard, so I responded, and I did another video, and I responded about it and read the portion of my parole transcript saying. But it was just a trip that somebody would ask me that. But they reached back out to me. They were like, no, I wasn't asking like that. I'm just curious how the board was looking at it. But yeah, somebody wanted to know, bro. So I'd be laughing about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I found the YouTube Yarda. The very first channel I ever saw prison related was, I think, 23-in-1 or something like that. I checked out some of his videos. And then you go down a rabbit hole. That one led me to somebody else, to somebody else. I came across you. I came across all these different people, Dubs, all kinds of people. So I just started checking channels out, and I was like, this is something I think I might be able to do, but I didn't want to do I didn't want to be a prison channel per se. We're all talking as war stories and politics and this fool did this and this fool got whacked, but I didn't want to do that. Like I said earlier, my prayer at that second parole hearing was, God, if you got something for me to do, send me out there to do it. So that's what I want everything I do in life to be about, is about serving God and giving hope to people. So that's what my channel really is about. It's about inspiring hope, whether it's hope to moms that their son or daughter is in prison doing life and might never come home, they might. There's hope. Whether it be to people that are in the life and think they can't change. This is one of the things, too, that people always ask or tell me, oh, you should talk to kids. You should do something for youngsters too. And that's cool, and it's a great thing, but everybody's already doing that. That's covered. Who is talking to people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, telling them you can change still? Right. Because a lot of people at that age have the mentality, it's too late for me. I can't change, so why bother? Yes, you can. I was in my 40s when I made my change. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Crazy story. I was in Ironwood. At this time, I'm like in my 30s. There were these two cats there, and I won't put their name out, but there were these two cats, older, had to be, bro, 58, 59, maybe 60, right? They got those known dope fiends, right? I'm in the same building they're in, and we're in the day room one night. We're watching TV. And there's a laundry cart right there near the wall, and the fellas are all right there watching TV. And these two cats, these two older cats, they go behind the laundry cart. So they're between the laundry cart and the wall. My first thought, and everybody else's, is they're back there slamming, right? Oh, whatever, that's their business, you know what I mean? So boom. A few minutes, they're back there, they come out. Mind you, these are viejitos, these are old men, gray hair, everything. The curiosity gets the best of me, bro, because I see them coming out with a marker in their hand. The curiosity gets the best of me. I go back there and I look. These fools have paqueated on the laundry cart, bro. These men are like 60-year-old,
with the
gray-haired, grown men, and they're over there placating on the laundry cart. Nicknames and neighborhoods.
Straight up.
Soy el so-and-so.
Was it these good gangster writing?
Que rifa, and you know what I mean? Pocos pero locos, and the whole get down. You know what I mean? So now that's when I think back that there's people that are older like that, but stuck in that mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
And who's telling them that there's hope to change? Who's telling them that change is still possible? People give up on bro, you're a certain age already and you haven't changed yet. You're worthless now. You got no hope. I want to let people know there is hope. It doesn't matter with God. It doesn't matter how young, how old, how grimy your past, how grimy your current life is, It doesn't matter. You can change, bro.
Absolutely.
And all it takes sometimes is for someone to hear it.
Absolutely.
It took for me to watch a lifer walk out the gate one day to have hope. I want to be that hope for somebody.
Man, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the message you give.
My pleasure.
The hope you give for people. I want you to look at the camera over here. Let people know where they can find you. Instagram, YouTube, the whole shebang.
YouTube is Changed Man for Life. Changed Man, the number 4, life. On Instagram, it's changed_man_4_life.
That's right, brother. And I want to thank you guys for tapping in here, listening to this man's incredible story of redemption. Make sure to share, like, subscribe. Absolutely. Also, make sure to go to his channel, run up his numbers.
Check me out.
He'll leave a comment in the comment section. I will pin it. Change Man for Life.
Help me grow.
It's inspirational, great story, man. I appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much,
brother.
Gil.
And we're out, players. That was dope, bro.
Nice, man.
That was
nice.
dope.